My name is Jeremy Rains, and I'm the Alabama Cares Caregiver Support Program Coordinator. A little bit about the Alabama Cares programs for those who may be unfamiliar with this program is, in short, it's a federally funded program that provides temporary relief services to a family caregiver or someone who's providing at least 20 hours of unpaid care per week. We oftentimes refer to them as either a family caregiver or a primary caregiver. So for Alabama Cares, we provide services that range from, general case management to education to, information in the community, all the way to what this service is a respite service. So that, it's a service that gives the caregiver a little bit of a break on a temporary basis. Now, we also provide things like supplies, so things like nutritional drinks, pull-ups, etc. And the idea is really to provide that caregiver with a little bit of a break on a temporary basis. Now, our clients for Alabama Cares, it's very similar to some of our other in-house programs at M4A. However, our program is based on the need of the caregiver. So, oftentimes you may be thinking of a client as the person that you're providing the direct services to, specifically to themselves. However, for our program, our client is the caregiver. So we're providing that caregiver with a little bit of a break. So up here at the top, this is our Alabama Cares DSP or direct service provider weekly services log. This is the form that our direct service providers use to kind of capture the services that are completed on a weekly basis. Now that may be, for some clients, that may be twice a week, that may be once a week, it may be every day. It really just depends on how that family caregiver decides that they want to use their respite service allotment that we've agreed to provide them with for our fiscal year. Our fiscal year, our program year, it runs from October the 1st through September the 30th. So for our Alabama Care staff, we identify caregivers who have a high need for these types of services, and we allot those on a prioritization basis. So, for a caregiver that receives services this year, they may not receive services in the next program year based on the need of other caregivers. So just keep that in mind that these services are not guaranteed, unfortunately, and we do provide them on a temporary basis, kind of by the nature of what the funding stream is, which is through the Older Americans Act. All right, so up at the top, you see care recipient, which is the person that family caregiver is caring for. That's, if there's a daughter caring for a mom, the mom is the care recipient. The caregiver is the person who is our client. So that would be the daughter in this situation. The company providing the services would be whoever, whatever organization you work with. That's where you would put, X company, and you don't necessarily have to worry about putting your name or the worker's name in this particular spot. Now, if you want to, that's fine, but we're really just concerned more about the company that's providing the service. You can also include the date and the county, and I would probably just put as far as the date, you can either put the date range as far as the beginning of the week or the end, but oftentimes with our clients, they're only receiving services once a week, so it's fine to either put a range of dates here, like, the beginning date of the week to the end day of the week, or just that specific day that you came. That's completely fine. Now, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a little bit of information here as far as the types of services that are provided. All of these services really fall into the category of homemaker type services, personal care services, sitter, companion, that sort of thing. But we all consider them to be what's called a respite service, which is really just an umbrella term of services where, all of these services fall under that umbrella itself. And what we mean by respite is really just a service that is a temporary service for caregivers to give them a little bit of a break. So, if you can mark in multiple categories here, it's fine. It's not a big deal because we pay all of our services through what's called respite. So just mark, any service that you provide, and it will be fine. Now, you will see that there's columns. This is a weekly form. So this is based on Sunday through Saturday. If you only come, say, on a Friday, that's fine. Just focus your check boxes on the day that you came. Now, we use these to kind of match down here, as you'll see, another breakdown of the week. Just put the date that you came. So, for example, if you came on Friday, March the 3rd, it would say, 3/3/2021, for an example. You would put the time that you came, the time that you exited. And if you want to put the types of service, that's fine. Again, most of our services are really going to fall under unskilled respite, so we're not really all that worried about this column being correct if you don't get it exactly right. Whether it's homemaker, personal care, unskilled respite, it's all fine, whichever way you want to put it. Now, the client, because remember, the Alabama Cares program is a caregiver support program. Our client is the family caregiver or the primary caregiver of the person who's in need of this hands-on care or help in the home. The worker would be the individual that's providing the service in the home. So, whoever that worker is for that direct service provider, that's where they would sign. So really the only two signatures that we need down here to really prove that the service has actually happened are the client or the caregiver and the worker's signature. Now, with that being said, if it's a situation where the caregiver is not available to sign or did not sign, and you have the care recipient or the person that they're caring for, and they're in a situation where cognitively and physically they're able to sign the paperwork, we're okay with that. We're not necessarily going to deny billing based on that alone. So if you have a situation where the only option you have is the care recipient to sign, that is fine. That's not a real big problem at all. Now, down here at the bottom, this would just be someone at the office administratively that could sign off to show that they reviewed this billing as correct. And then, of course, dated. Okay, so that's all of the billing sheet. Now, we're kind of doing this in the opposite format. Going to go through the weekly sheet and then some of the other sheets and then kind of tie it all back in together. So up next, we're going to move on to our services breakdown, our services summary sheet. Okay, now we're going to move on to what we call as our service log summary sheet. And this is really just a breakdown of the services that were provided to all of the clients. This is really important. If you've got multiple clients that you're working on behalf of our agency, if you've got 5 or 10 clients, this really just helps us break down who received what during the month. And it's really more about being able to refer back to it if you needed to get a quick review of what that person received for the month. So the difference between this form and the last form, of course, is the last one is really the form that the workers are going to use when they're providing the services in the home. So back to the example of the daughter caring for her mother, we'll just use an example. If you had, if she was providing, or if she was receiving rather 4 hours of service one time a week, and she got that for 4 weeks, there should be 4 weekly logs to show each week that the worker was in the home. And then, of course, that would be proofed by the review, the supervisor, the administrator within your office. And then, of course, the worker and the caregiver or client would sign off on that to show that those services did happen in the home. This form here is going to help, again, kind of tie all that in together if there are multiple clients receiving those services. If you're only providing the service to one client, we still ask that you do this because this is really for our reference too if we ever need to refer back to show the summary of who all was served for the month. So you would, of course, provide the information on who the contractor is, who the service provider is that is providing these services. You can include the telephone number and any address information if you feel the need to. However, you don't necessarily have to because that information is on the next form that we're going to review over as well. But at least put the contractor information so that we know that this is with the correct billing for the month. Now, just to kind of give you an example here, if you had 5 clients that you were providing services to, of course, their names would go right here. Again, our program is a caregiver support program. So our client is the caregiver themselves, the primary or family caregiver. So if Jane Doe was providing services for her mom, her name would be right here, Jane Doe, and then / her mom's name. Now, if you don't put the mom's name, that's fine. We really need the caregiver's name more than anything because our information that we provide to our state agency is based on the caregiver themselves. So at least put the caregiver's name. That would really help us out there. All right. So the purchase amount is going to be whatever you contractually agree to, whatever your contract says between our agency and yours, whether that's $15 an hour, $20 an hour, whatever it is. That would just be the purchase amount, the total amount. Now you're going to calculate, this is going to be a total of however many hours that you provided. So as an example, back to the daughter and the mom, if you provided 4 hours a week for 4 weeks, that's 16 hours, you would multiply 16 hours times whatever that agreed amount is that we pay for these services, and then you would put that total dollar amount right here. So you should have total dollar amount that person was provided services to for the month, the total number of hours, and you would do that for every client that you served on behalf of the Alabama Cares program. And then, of course, you would put your totals down here. Now, once you get that done, these totals should match the front sheet, which we're about to go over, which is the voucher summary sheet, which is ultimately the form that we get first that shows really the fiscal information that we need in order for our fiscal department to be able to cut that check to get it to your agency as quickly as possible. All right, so this last sheet we're going to go over is what we call the reimbursement and billing invoice sheet, or we typically like to call it billing voucher, reimbursement voucher, but that's how we have it listed here is the reimbursement and billing invoice. So this is basically just the cover sheet to show the fiscal information, how many hours you provided, how much money you're requesting, and then the information about where that payment needs to go to. So naturally, the contractor would be the company that you're doing this on behalf of. You would put the address, you would put, whatever. Typically with our contracts, it's going to cover which address you've had listed where you would like for your reimbursement checks or any kind of billing information to be sent. That's what needs to be on this form, because that's what our fiscal department is going to use to whenever they cut the check for payment, that's where it's going to be sent, unless there's other agreements that are kind of in place, automatic deposit, et cetera. So make sure that if your address ever changes to where this type of information needs to be sent, make sure you notify our staff so that our staff can make adjustments to the contract so that we know that's where that needs to go now. Now for the month, it's always the month prior to what you're submitting. Now, with that being said, if you're late, if getting billing in and we're in July doing billing for June and you're trying to submit billing for February, it's still fine to put February as the month these services are provided in, because that should reflect the billing sheets, the weekly service logs that are within this billing stack. So as an example, our billing is due per our contract on the 5th working day of the month. So for June, billing should have been submitted by July the 7th, which is the 5th working day of the month. Now, if that falls within within a holiday, which is a common occurrence, we're usually pretty lenient on that as long as you get it within a day or two of that 5th working day of the month. And we use that to help us be able to get the billing approved and back to the contractor, with the payment as quickly as possible, as well as we have deadlines for our staff in order to be able to post what's called units on our log for the state. And we have deadlines to get that in. So this kind of helps us, try to get that in a timely manner. Now, if for some reason you miss the deadline for this billing cycle, you can resubmit this billing next month, or it will be paid in the following month during the next billing cycle. So just keep that in mind. If you submit billing late, you will get reimbursed for it. Now, our fiscal year, as a reminder, we run from October the 1st through September the 30th. So if you have any billing that was provided within that fiscal year, try to get it in as quickly as possible in the month of October so that we can get it paid and get our books closed out for the year. If it's submitted substantially after the fiscal year ends, there's a potential that it might not get reimbursed. So just make sure you get billing in, obviously, in a timely manner so that we can make sure that all services are paid for and everybody's covered. All right. So again, this is the reimbursement and billing invoice. Of course, you would put the contractor's name that you're doing this on behalf of. You would also include the address to where it needs to get sent to. And of course, the billing information, the month, year, and if you want to include your telephone number, just in case there's any mess ups that we need to get clarification on, and that would help us tremendously. Now, down at the bottom, it's all one service again, whether it's homemaker, personal care, sitter, companion. It's all listed of what we consider to be unskilled respite services that provide that caregiver with the break. Now, the rate here is going to be based on the hourly rate. Again, whatever that is that you guys have contractually agreed with our staff on to pay to get reimbursed for these services. So you would put, as an example, if that's $16.75, that would be $16.75. The total number of hours of all of the caregivers that you provided this service to. So if you've got 100 total hours between all 5 caregivers, this would be 100. Then, of course, you would multiply those two to give you a total dollar amount that you're requesting to be reimbursed for, in order to kind of provide that total breakdown for us there. Now, you could put it here if you want to. You don't have to, but it's just the next line down. Looks a little cleaner. And then, of course, once we get the billing, I will use these right 2 columns here to kind of go back over and authorize that this was true. This is what was requested. This is what we're able to pay for. Now, most of the time, that will be the total that you guys come up with. Those are going to match. However, keep in mind, I did mention this on the previous 2 slides, but with our program, because of the way that we report our units to our state and national agencies, we can only pay in whole hour units. So, for an example, if you've got a client who's received 4 hours and 25 minutes, round that to the half hour base it on the half hour. So, for example, if it's 4 hours and 20 minutes, we're going to have to pay 4 hours. If it's over a half hour, we're rounding it up to 5 hours. So if you provided 4 hours and 40 minutes, round it up to the next hour, because we're only allowed to provide these services in a whole hour format. Now, if you forget that, or if the worker submits billing in, we typically say at least get it to the half hour, and then we can do the rounding on our end. But I did want to make sure that we point out that we are only allowed to provide services on a whole hour unit. So, if we get a bill here for 30 and a half hours, we're going to pay 31 hours. If we get a bill for 30.25 hours, we're paying 30 hours. So, and again, if you have any questions about any kind of billing, please do not hesitate calling our office and to ask to speak with the Alabama Care staff, so that we can help kind of really minimize any issues to make sure that this is a seamless process for our providers, because we don't consider our contractors that we contract with to be, just a contractor. You guys are our partners in this. You provide the service, we provide the funding, and we do look at you guys as a partner to help fit this, help provide the service for this need that is needed so badly in the community. So that's all of our billing forms. Again, we'll go back through. This is kind of the way it would look whenever it's submitted to us. This would be our top form. This is our reimbursement and billing invoice. This shows the total number of hours, the rate, and the services that are being, or the fiscal amount, the dollar amount that's being requested for that month for that provider. The next form is going to be the service log summary sheet. So this is going to be right behind that billing reimbursement, billing invoice reimbursement voucher. This is going to show the breakdown of the services that were provided, or for every caregiver, you would have them listed here, the purchase amount, the total amount of hours, and of course you would add that there at the bottom. So that would be the second sheet to kind of show that preview, that breakdown. And then our last sheet is going to be the individual billing weekly service logs for that caregiver. So again, this would be the person who, in the scenario of the daughter and the mom, the daughter would be the caregiver, the mom would be the care recipient, or the person that's receiving the care, and then the company providing the services would be whoever that the worker is providing those services for on their behalf. Again, there would need to be one of these for each week. If that person only receives services once a week, there should only be one column of those services listed for that entire week. If that person is receiving services, say 3 times a week, there would need to be 3 columns for that entire week. So regardless of whether they're receiving services, multiple days per week or one day, you still have a service log per week that client is receiving services. So if you've got, back to our daughter and mother, if they're receiving 1 day a week for 4 hours, there should be 4 service or weekly log sheets to match that, that amount of service that they got 1 day for 4 weeks. So just keep that in mind when you're tallying up, especially for the administrators. If you're tallying up your billing, there should be a weekly service log to match each week that they were in the home. And most importantly, make sure that there's a client signature and a worker signature. The caregiver please keep in mind that the caregiver that we're referring to is the client or the person that we're providing the respite service to, the family caregiver, the primary caregiver, however you want to describe them. Just make sure that we have a signature to show that that service was provided and they're agreeing that, that worker came into a home, provided these services, and that way that there's proof that it was done. So again, I hope this has been helpful. We try to keep blank copies of these on our website, and I will show a preview of how we do that. If you ever find yourself in a situation where your forms have really gotten worn down, you're making copies and they've really kind of faded a lot and they're not really worth it much anymore, you can request those through our staff, or you can go to our webpage, which is on www.m4a.org. You would go to the services tab. Then you would scroll down just a little bit here to where it says Caregiver Support Alabama Cares. And once you get to that page, you would scroll all the way to the bottom. And here are our billing vouchers, summary sheet, the log summary sheet, the weekly services log, and the billing voucher reimbursement form, all right here. And so, for example, if you need a new clean sheet of the weekly services log, you would just click there. It would open it in another window, and there you go. You've got a free, clean copy that you can print to have a fresh copy of it. And then, of course, we've got the others on here as well. So, but again, if you, for some reason, if you forget that, or if you need a clean copy, you can always just inquire with whatever staff member at our agency that's covering the Alabama Cares program, and we can make sure that we get you some clean copies. So please don't hesitate to do that. You're more than welcome to use your own billing forms as long as it covers the information that we've gone over here. But please, if you have any issues with that, please let us know, and we can definitely get those to you. So I hope this has been helpful. I know that it's very hard, especially if you're a new provider trying to understand the process by which we reimburse for our services. But I hope that this video has been somewhat helpful, and we will have this video on our website on the same webpage under our Alabama Cares program to help provide that if you need to train new staff on our billing process or anything like that. So my name is Jeremy Rains. I'm the Alabama Cares Coordinator for the Alabama Cares program at the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging, or M4A, and I can be contacted at 205-670-5770 or at JRAINES@m4a.org. That's jrains@m4a.org. Please don't hesitate to call me if you need any assistance. And we, again, thank you for your assistance, your partnership in providing this much needed service to the community. Thank you so much, and have a great day.